Hey guys, welcome to the How to Send the Perfect Tinder Opener webinar. You might have been waiting for a minute or two, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the topic. Let me go ahead and share the view here. And by the way, guys, keep in mind that if you have any questions, write them down because at the end we're going to be doing a live Q&A. And on top of that, this is live, so at any point if you have a question, just go into the webinar jam side and you can type it into the chat and I'll see it there. All right, so with that said, once again, welcome to the How to Send the Perfect Tinder Opening webinar. Let's go over exactly what we're going to be covering today, basically over the next 45 minutes. First off, we're going to look at the online dating market. This will give you some background information about dating services, online dating services. Don't worry, this will be really quick. We'll just look at the numbers of basically how many people are actually using online dating. We'll look at what doesn't work on Tinder. And to do this, we're going to be going over a case study with a girl named Emily. And my personal favorite part is when we look at the science and the data behind effective online dating and Tinder messages. I'm not going to be showing you my opinion here, just the facts. This part is going to be really interesting. And after we lay all of the groundwork, we're going to dive in with the actual Tinder Wingman system, where basically I'll show you how to send the perfect Tinder opener in every case with any girl. And obviously, this is where you're going to want to pay really close attention. Now, the best part is where we actually use the system. You're going to see 24 real examples from my personal Tinder. And we're going to be looking at exactly why those lines worked. Now, before we dive into any of that, I want to tell you guys a little bit about me so you know who I am. So my name is Mark, and before starting Zerby, founding Zerby, I worked as the chief of staff at one of the world's largest and most successful dating companies, Simple Pickup, Jump Cut Studios, and also was a partner at Willie Beck Dating. I've helped guys from all over the world conquer their dating life. Well, that's enough about me. Let's dive into the actual topic and find out what Tinder really looks like. So as of right now, there are about 50 million active users. Now, to give you a perspective of what that number means, that's like the entire population of New York City times 6. And by the way, I'm not just talking about Manhattan here. I'm talking about all of New York City, all of the boroughs. Every day, there are 26 million matches. So think about those 6 New York cities. There's enough matches happening that basically 3 full New York cities worth every single day are matches, not swipes, but matches. Which means that every single day, there are 1.7 billion swipes, which is approximately 1/4 of the world's population. All right, so what? What does that all mean? What does that mean for you? Well, it means that you can't fail. Statistically speaking, if you're in the game long enough, you're eventually going to score. But it might just take a while. And to give you an idea of how long that might take, worst case scenario, of course, it would take almost 15,000 hours or 3 years straight, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of swiping right just to get through only the female users. Now, by the end of this webinar, you're going to know how to drastically reduce that number. Now, what are the bare minimum requirements to getting matches? Well, of course, you have your profile photo. And with your profile photo, we have done a full webinar on this topic, by the way, guys. And at the end of the presentation here, I'll tell you about how you can get access to that. But basically, we'll show you exactly how to have the perfect Tinder profile, and you'll be able to really dive in. But basically, according to Julie Spira, you want your photo to be just you, no obstruction, nothing No funny gorillas, nothing like that in your photo. No selfies without your t-shirt. And as far as your bio, never ever skip your bio section. Girls are 99% less likely to swipe right if you aren't willing to divulge some basic information about you. And that comes from the VP and the Tinder VP of Global Communication and Branding. Now, of course, that is just the start, and getting a match is the easy part. Where most guys fail is the opening message, hands down. The opening message is where 99% of guys go wrong. After all, getting a match really isn't hard. So long as you're swiping enough, you're bound to get one. Now, moving on from there is, now let's talk about what doesn't work on Tinder before we get into the science of what does. And keep in mind, by the way, that this is for any online dating. This is not just Tinder. This is for OkCupid, Coffee Meets Bagel, even texting a girl that you get her number, let's say at a bar. All of this applies. So again, what doesn't work? So let's meet Emily. She's an attractive girl who I'm sure most of the guys watching this webinar would probably be interested in. Now, by the way, I just want to preface this by saying that the source here is a website called tinderseduction.com. You can go there and find the full case study. So just with that out of the way, she deleted her profile as an experiment. She then swiped 50 times. And what we're going to do now is look at the messages that she received. And what I want you guys to do while you're watching, all right, is I want you to take note and see how many of the messages that she got look like some of the messages that you guys send or have sent in the past. So right off the bat, I see a few hays, smileys, an invite to meet up with the letter U instead of typing U out. It's not looking any better here. And obviously, I'm not going to go through every page, but I think that you get the message. So let's see the results. Emily got 26 matches out of 50 swipes. 50% of those guys that matched with her sent her a message. So let's go ahead and plot that down. So 50% of matches wrote her. And that actually gives us a takeaway. So takeaway number one, be in that 50% that actually messages her. You don't have a chance if you don't try. Pretty obvious, right, guys? Next, let's look at the kind of messages that she got. 86% of the messages were some mix of hey, hi, what's up? Nothing more. Yikes, that's not looking good. So we'll plot that down. 86% of lines were terrible. Things are not looking good for this experiment. You can start to understand here why girls don't respond to first messages on Tinder and are usually so standoffish. So takeaway number two, don't be in that 80%, that 86% that sends bad opening messages. All right, so the messages themselves, 0% were attention grabbing in any way. Now, fair enough, this is subjective, but there was nothing in any of those messages that had any kind of unique aspect. They're either simple greetings, boring questions, or invitations to meet up like that. Hey, what are you doing this weekend, right? So plot that down. 0% were attention grabbing, which brings us to our next takeaway, which is obvious, right, guys? Don't do what everyone else does. Have a first message that grabs attention. And don't worry, when we go into the Tinder Wingman system, I'll show you exactly how to do that so there won't be any question. All right, now, finally and most importantly, none of those messages had any form of personalization. They were all copy-pasted messages or something a lot like it. Not good. So again, 0% had any real personalization. So we'll bring to the next takeaway, be personalized. So we have 4 takeaways from that, right? Now, that was all well and good, but let's look at the science behind the messages. What can we do to improve our success based on actual data. Because remember, that was just subjective, right? But let's look at some big numbers. So all of this information comes from Christian Rudder, who's the founder of OkCupid. And this data is pulled from hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of messages that have been sent on his platform. Now, keep in mind, this is for OkCupid, but everything applies. It's all basically the same. We can still draw the same conclusions from this platform as from any other online dating platform that our age group uses. So let's look at some data. First off, bad English. Messages that, on average, use your, ya, etc., have up to a 25% lower chance to receive a response. Now, here's where things get really crazy. I love this, all right? Even typing can't instead of can't with an apostrophe, that can lower your response rate from the average of 30% all the way down to an average of 7%. Wow. How many of your messages can you think of right now that have any kind of similar problem? Little spelling mistakes, acronyms, net speak, little grammatical errors. I mean, that is a huge reduction. So from this, we can derive our first rule, which is use proper English. I know it's very tempting to use you instead of the word you, and to not type things out. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you need a period every single sentence. But if you start using NetSpeak, you're going to see a big decline in response rate. All right, complimenting her. As it happens, it helps. You can see up to a 10% increase in response rate by complimenting her. But here's the kicker. The moment that you compliment her on her looks, it doesn't just not help you, it actually cripples you. Calling a girl sexy means that you'll get up to a 40% less response rate than complimenting a girl with something personal. So now we have our second rule: be personal about something other than her looks. Be specific. By being specific to something that we see in her profile, we can boost our results to almost 45% from 30%. That is a huge jump. It can be about anything you notice specifically about her. This really is radical. This is even more proof that copy-pasted lines do not work. And by do not work, I don't mean that it will never work. I mean that it won't help you. It won't radically improve your response rate, right? And this is even more proof that you must be specific to each girl. Moving on. So that brings us to our third rule: be specific to her. Now, let's move on to something even more insane. Authenticity. Now, this has huge, huge implication. Really, I want you to think about this. Women respond most to the guys who are the most genuine, the guys who really want to get to know her. Now look at this. The guys who are genuinely interested in her can get up to almost a 50% response rate. That's bigger than any of the things that we've seen before. Keep in mind that this is not the guys who are setting the best copy-pasted line. This is not even the guys that have the most in common with her. And this isn't even the guys who are the most witty, have the best compliments, or anything else. Authenticity reigns king. I mean, this is really big. Now, there might be a case to say, well, you know, good looks help. Well, here's the thing. I disagree with that. I don't think good looks are the most important feature at all. But remember that this is after you have a match and you're sending a message, where looks don't matter. She's already liked you, so to speak, by matching. So your first message to her, it's about what you project in your message. The implications there are really big. All right, so that brings us back to our 5 rules of first messages. Number 4 is authenticity reigns king. So let's go over them again. Use proper English, be personal, be specific to her, and authenticity reigns king. So what have we learned? We now have 4 rules to send messages based on real data. By sending the wrong first message, you can hit a 0% response rate. But by sending the right messages, you can fire up to 50%. And those things have nothing to do with your height, ethnicity, hobbies, or looks. It's about how you present them and how much authenticity you present. All right, so warning, obviously, I've left out Rule 5 for any of you guys who are paying attention. And Rule 5, this really is this secret sauce that pulls everything together. To give you an idea, Rule 4, authenticity reigns king. I would argue that this rule is as important as that. I mean, this really is a very, very important aspect. Now, I want to cover the Tinder Wingman opener system before we cover Rule 5, because I feel like if you know the system, then Rule 5 will help you out a lot more. And don't worry, there are going to be no cliffhangers in this webinar. I will get back to Rule 5 later. There's nothing that I'm going to hide from you guys here. And like I said before, this is live. So if you are watching, feel free to go ahead and come over to the webinar jam side and write a question. And at the end, I'll try to get to it. Now, let's go over the Tinder Wingman opener system, setting the perfect opening message. This is why you guys are here. We already have a great foundation to build on this. After all, we looked at all the data. And we've also looked at a case study. And as mentioned before, this will work with any girl that you match with on Tinder, even the ones with those dreaded, boring selfie with no bio profiles. You know what I'm talking about. Following the system will give you the biggest potential returns. Now, of course, you can break any of those rules that we had before, those 5 rules. But first, master that system. Once you get the basics down and you're getting a good response rate, and you're able to have dates every single night of the week, then if you want to start experimenting, you absolutely should. But first, nail this system. And the beauty of the system is it's really, really easy. And of course, I use the metaphor of fishing because what else would be more appropriate? So step 1 is to hook. This is where you pick one thing from her profile, from her photos, from her bio, from the Instagram photos at the bottom of her profile, whatever. It can be anything, no matter how small. And you'll see in the examples just how small that little random thing that you pick out is. It really doesn't matter what it is. You now have your hook. From that, we have our line. This is where you take the hook and make a line from it. Again, it doesn't matter how small a hook is. It really doesn't matter, and you'll see why. Also, don't worry, like I said a million times before, we're going to be looking at 24 real examples right after I finish this. And finally, we have the reel. Reeling is where you connect her to you. Think of it like pulling her into your world. So hook, line, reel. Did you write these down? Now, of course, this has no, it has no value if we don't show the examples. So while it's fresh in your mind, let's take a look at them. So this girl had photos that looked very cinematic, almost like they were stills or screenshots from a movie. So my line was pretty simple. I just referenced how cinematic her photos were. And you can see that it got a great response. This girl mentioned in her profile that she loves getting compliments and she has good taste in wine. So what I did is instead of using one hook, I used 2. And I also reeled it into me. So it's a double reference. So I said, and if I compliment your taste in wine, then I'm doing really well. So not only am I using the hook on she loves good compliments, but I'm also using the hook on her sense that she has a good taste in wine. And then I'm reeling it back to me. I'm doing really well, right? It's connecting us together. Very powerful. This girl in her profile mentioned that she doesn't want any one-night stands, that she has enough furniture. So that was a little dad joke of hers that she had in her profile. And all I needed to do was reference this by saying that I'm a lazy boy. And again, very small hook, saying she doesn't want one night stands. And I reel it to me. And it doesn't need to make a lot of sense. Don't overthink this, guys. It really doesn't need to be the most logical thing in the world. In fact, it shouldn't be. All it's really doing is showing her, hey, I'm actually authentically interested in you because I read your profile and I'm actually paying attention. And I am kind of showing my authenticity there, right? You're showing that you're personally interested in her. So this girl had a photo with a puppy in it. So I play off of that. Now, what I really love about this, okay, is I've actually had guys come to me and say, hey, Mark, she has a picture of a photo of a puppy in her photos. That means every guy is going to be commenting on it. Well, no, like we saw before, every guy, 86% of those guys are going to be sending some crappy copy-pasted line or just saying, hey, hi, what's up? If she is giving you something on a silver platter, take it. Remember, especially guys who are like you, who are authentic, interesting, right? Who project themselves well and who are interested in her. So by having a photo of a dog, she's giving you something very easy to message her about. So take it. This girl mentioned that she loves spicy food, and being that I lived in China for a considerable period of time, I've fallen in love with Sichuan cuisine. So that's my in, but not only am I relating it to her hook, but I'm also reeling it into me, and that I am actually very passionate about Sichuan cuisine, and it gives us something to talk about and continue the conversation. Again, this is a great example of showing authenticity, and it doesn't need a lot to do it. It's just one line, right? So this girl messaged me first about tea in our history. Now, my Tinder bio, which is something that we go over a lot in Zerby, is basically, it basically lists out a few things that I'm genuinely interested in. It's only one sentence. It has a little pun in there, so it gets my sense of humor across, my sarcasm, but also the things that I actually like. And a lot of times girls will message me first because I make it very easy for them. Now, because she's messaging in on something in my profile, in this case, T, I already have a great way to hook and line that and reel that into me. In this case, it's a little pun about getting oolong, which you'll see more as this presentation goes by. So in this case, the hook was based on not something in her profile, but in her opening line. And then I reeled it into me, right? Obviously, she liked it, and we continued on from there with her own tea joke. This girl's profile says, I won't share my pizza with you. My line is so simple, right? But sharing is caring. It's very, very simple, but it really projects a lot about me, right? First off, it's a joke. She gets my humor. Second off, it's related to her profile. It has a hook, which is she won't share. And third, it relates her to me. It's reeling her in. Because the implication is we would be sharing the pizza, right? Okay, so this girl referenced in her profile celebrity chefs, so I used Guy. And it's actually a GIF, as you can see. When in doubt, a GIF of Guy always does very well. Now, I love using GIFs. In fact, a lot of what I'm doing now is sending GIFs. But the thing is, you don't want a random GIF of like a bear waving, right? What you want to do is have a GIF that's specifically related to her. Even though it's an image, it should still follow the hook, line, reel system that we're going over now. Now, this girl had photos of her at the Renaissance Fair, and I have always wanted to go, and I've never been to the Renaissance Fair. So this line really is authentic, but it also shows my sense of humor, and it hooks into her, which is the Ren Fair. So I say, I want things to work out between us because I've never been to the Ren Fair, and I know you could be my in. So again, very simple. Now, her profile mentions Neverland, and I play off that. Again, hook and line. I hope you don't mean Neverland Ranch. Now, here's the thing. I want you guys to understand, you don't always have to have every component of the system, right? The most important thing is the hook. In this case, I'm not really relating it to me, but I kind of am, and here's the way I'm doing it, and I want you guys to be aware of this, is I'm showing my sense of humor. So even though you look at this and said, well, this doesn't have the real, well, it does, because it is reeling her into my world in terms of my sense of humor, my sarcasm. So keep that in mind. All right, this girl had a cardboard cutout of Obama in her profile. So my line referenced that. Again, hook, line, reel. Here's another example of T. She messaged me first saying T, and I used the same line that I used before. Looks like we're going to get oolong. So again, hook, line, reel. Now in your profile, you guys should have stuff in there, and you should know how to respond to any girl who messages you about any of those components. Because it's easy. You're giving, the reason you put in a bio is to make her life easier. And so she can get an idea of who you are, what you're interested in, right? Now this girl had in her bio that she was looking for a guy with a good vibe, so I sent a GIF of a vibrating fish. Now one thing I want to point out is, of course, I'm only showing you the opening messages here, but all of these conversations, we have the full entire conversation all the way up to getting her number, and also the text conversation of getting a date. That's something that Zerby Tinder Wingman members have access to. They're able to see. And you guys can check that out at some point as well. Because again, I'm only showing you the opener in this webinar. Because obviously the opener is the most important place to start. And I think it's really important that you guys are able to get a very high response rate with your openers. Now this girl had a photo with Trump. So I said, FYI, I have a Trump mask with me that we're gonna wear on our first date. She said, I'll wear Hillary. And I said, our sex is going to be really weird. Now, the thing is, I want to point out, a lot of guys will send really sexual messages with their Tinder. And it can work with a very, 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 very small percentage of women. So you really have to catch a woman who at that moment in time is actually, you know, horny, and she's open to meeting a guy on Tinder, and she really is attracted to you. But the likelihood that that is going to happen is not very high. So with that said, I don't like to send really sexual messages. That's just not me. I'm not comfortable with it. And I just don't think it's that effective. But with that said, you want to take risks in your messages. So even though I'm talking about sex in this, it's not gross, it's not overt, it's obviously a joke. So keep that in mind. It's really important. Definitely take risks in your conversation. A lot of guys might be scared to type that out, but hey man, if that's your sense of humor, then show it. Okay, so this girl is messaging me about tea again. So you can see that I'm using that same pun about getting oolong, but what I also do here, and this is important to point out, is that I inject a little authenticity. I just got off a very long flight, traveling into a time zone that was in the past, so I point that out. I'm telling her about my life. It's about showing authenticity. So your opening message can be more than just one message. It can be two. All right, so here's another example where she messages me about tea. And in this case, I don't send that pun. I already have a good sense that she is up for meeting because she says it, right? So, you know, I'm already thinking about logistics for our first date. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. It only took one message for us to set up a real date at her place, and it was a great time. Now, of course, I don't want to mislead you guys. This is not going to happen most of the time. But if your profile does a really good job of showing your authenticity, showing who you are and your interests, and your photos demonstrate that really well, and she gets a really good idea of who you are, then anything can happen. Right? Typically, a guy who we looked at before, who's in that 86% sending bad messages, might get a message from this girl and just say, oh yeah, cool. Or yeah, I like tea. What do you like? You know, but take a risk. If she's up to meet, then meet. It's okay if it's only one message in. All right, so this girl didn't have much in her profile. There was no bio. She had like a few photos. And in one of the photos, she had like in the background, a Corona sombrero, barely visible. So that's what I mean before when I said it doesn't matter how small the hook is. In this case, the hook was really, really small, right? But it was still very effective. All right. This is another example of a girl who had barely any information in her profile, and all of her photos were kind of boring, just boring selfies. But she put a fake age on her profile, which was 89, so I ran with it. Again, that was my hook, her age listed. It doesn't matter what your hook is. This girl's profile mentioned that she'll regret using Tinder, so again, I ran with it. That was my hook. So I said, let's get our mutual regret started. Hi, I'm Mark. Again, showing my personality, that's the real, and the hook, the regret of using Tinder. This girl, one of her photos had her with a fake mustache in the photo. Again, easy reference. So don't be scared to send a message about something that's just obvious in her photo because you think everyone else is doing it. 50% of the guys aren't even messaging her, and the ones who are primarily sending terrible copy-pasted lines. So take the easy reference. Now this girl had a photo of her jumping in midair. Again, easy transition into a fun topic, which is superpowers. Okay, here is the example that I know you guys are waiting for. People ask this all the time, which is the dreaded empty bio with boring selfies. Now, we covered that kind of before with a sombrero, but this girl literally had nothing. It was just empty. So in this case, you have a few options, right? One is you can be personal about your stuff. You can actually use a hook from your own profile or your own photos and have your line and reel related to you. Or you can do what I did here, which is to get a little deeper with your question. So rather than ask, so where have you traveled? I said instead, where'd you go that had the most impact on you, right? That is a deeper question. That's not a small chat question. You're actually getting to know her. And in this case, I didn't let her get away with a boring answer. Right? So she's a very difficult to choose. Each place has its own charm. And I told her straight out, I don't buy it. That's a lazy answer. So it's okay to challenge her a little bit. After all, keep in mind that she is not making it easy for me. She's not making it easy for guys to message her. And she knows that. So be a little challenging. All right, now this girl, again, didn't have much about her, but I noticed that she was from California and she's living where I am living now, which is of California. I'm not much into the Northeast. But again, that was my reference. Pretty simple stuff. Now this girl mentioned that she loves brunch in her profile. So again, very easy in. And one thing I want to point out is if you actually look at the message, I say the food of the gods is Eggs Benedict. If you don't agree, message me ASAP. Again, that is an example of taking risk, right? If you don't agree, unmatch me ASAP. Now, a lot of guys might be scared to send that because they think, oh my God, maybe she's going to actually unmatch me. And you know what? You're right. And in many cases, she will. But that's your sense of humor, so show it. Because the girls who don't unmatch you are going to love you even more. And that's really important. This isn't about getting every girl. This is about getting girls who you really connect with, which is much more important. All right, so that actually is all of our examples. So what we're going to do now is talk about that fifth rule. Now, if you remember, we went over the 4 rules that we derived from the data of first messages. And before we go into that live Q&A at the end, it's really important that we talk about that 5th rule, which in my opinion is the secret ingredient that needs to be in place for everything else to work. Now, get out your pens because I do want you to write this down. This is, as I said before, probably the most important aspect of your opening message. So the secret ingredient is reference experience. So here's the thing. Following our system, that hook, line, reel system, will work as you saw firsthand. And as you do it more and more over time, you're going to get more and more results. This is how you'll know which hook will be the most effective. This is how you intuitively know what line she'll respond to the most. And this is also how you'll know how hard to reel in. And, let's be honest, guys, I think you already know that this isn't exactly a secret. We kind of intuitively understand that the more you do something, the more you do any skill, the better that you get at that skill, right? Pretty obvious. But there are 2 problems with reference experience, and you know what? They're pretty big problems. One, like any other skill, it takes years of failure to build. Think about all that fun that you could be having during that time that you're failing to pick up the skill. And 2, it actually gets harder to improve the more that you improve, right? Again, gradient curve. The more you practice your skill and the better you get, the smaller gains that you get over time. It becomes increasingly difficult to get better as you get better. So don't be me. There is another way to get reference experience without going through the years of failure like I did. And the good news is you don't have to wait years like I did to start seeing huge results. And when you do get those results, you don't have to fall into the trap of complacency or hit plateaus that don't seem to end. You don't have to do what I did, which is struggle for a long time. And that's why we made Tinder Wingman. We're able to actually give you the reference experience from a team of dating coaches so you can dramatically cut down the time that you need to become seasoned. And once you do, you'll be part of a mastermind of guys who excel with online dating so you can always stay sharp. Now, before I tell you what's actually inside Tinder Wingman, there's something extremely important to know. The doors to open Tinder Wingman actually close on the 22nd of this month. So what is that, a week away? After that, you will not be able to join Tinder Wingman. It might be months or longer before we open it again. It's been 4 months since we opened it, and it could be even longer before we open it again, and you will find out why soon. There is a reason that we do that. Now, what is in Tinder Wingman? Well, the first thing you get are weekly Tinder breakdowns. Each week, you'll get a new Tinder breakdown video, so you will absorb all of the reference experience from our team of expert coaches. Now, what are those breakdowns? They're usually anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes long, where we break down a real Tinder OkCupid text conversation line by line so you understand exactly why we said what we said and why she reacted the way she did. You'll get the core principle in each breakdown so you know how to incorporate it into your own game. You're going to get unshakable confidence, not just in Tinder, but OkCupid, Field, Badoo, Coffee Meets Bagel, and even your text game. The same principles apply to absolutely everything. Now here's where things get really insane. On top of that, you get a one-on-one coach via text. Have you ever wished that you can get help on the spot? when the pressure is on and you need help right now, when you don't have time to run home and watch through all the videos to get answers. That's exactly what you can do with Tinder Wingman. No matter what you need help with, you can text into Tinder Wingman with your phone and get help with any issue once per week. That is a game changer, guys. So some of the ways that guys are using the texting one-on-one feature. Well, let's say that you open up Tinder and have a new match, but her bio is empty and her pictures are just selfies. What do you do? A girl ghosts mid-conversation. How do you get her attention back? Maybe you've been talking with her for a while, but you just can't seem to lock down a date. Or you even watch one of our Tinder breakdown videos and you have a question about it from the coach who actually made it. No matter what you need help with, you can text into Tinder Wingman on your phone and get help immediately with any issue once per week. Send us your screenshots of Tinder conversations or text conversations. Send us your questions, your fears, whatever. We're here for you. This is not just a set of videos. You can get live feedback and help in the moment. Also, we have our content library. And guys, hopefully you found this webinar really helpful. But of course, we only covered the opening line. Now, our content library covers everything else in our online dating mastery course and our approaching mastery course. So you can learn exactly how to approach a woman that you're interested in real life. And you'll also be getting access to our webinar archive and live Q&A. Now, remember before, guys, I talked about the Tinder profile, where I have a webinar just like this that goes very deep into the topic, and how to have the perfect online dating profile. Well, we have a webinar for that you will get access to in this content library, as well as the replay of this, as well as all of the other webinars and live Q&As that we have done. Now, here's one of my favorite aspects of our program, and that is this is not a set it and forget it program. We are not a gym. We're more like a personal trainer. We'll be there with you at every step, checking in on you personally, one-on-one via text to make sure that you're following through with what you started. We follow up. There's also the mastermind group. As soon as you join, you'll be part of our mastermind group of other Tinder Wingman members so you can see their strategies firsthand and share your own. This is how you're going to keep extremely sharp and get new strategies, and most importantly, get really good, really fast. Being part of a community of guys who are supportive is one of the most underrated but most important aspects of getting very proficient in any skill. So with that said, who actually is Tinder Wingman for? Well, to be honest, it's not for most guys. That's because most guys want the easy way out with scripted lines. Most guys don't want to put in any work, and as a result, there are no lasting changes. And worst of all, most guys want us to feed them lines so they can get the date in the short term, but don't actually become a better man. And you know what? That is something that's very common with people coming on to Tinder Wingman. Right off the bat, they'll send us a girl's profile and say, give me a line. Well, that's not for us. That's not how we operate, and we're not shy about firing clients, especially because we only let in a small number of new members so everyone can get that one-on-one personalization that you actually need to get better. We are fostering a real community here, and we are not going to put that at risk for your money. Now, when you text in and you want help with an open line, we will help you. We will lead you to it. But this is not just about us giving you copy-pasted lines. We actually want you to get better. We don't want you to be dependent on our service to be able to get results. We will teach you how to catch a fish, right? Now, who is Tinder Wingman for? Well, I have some clips of 3 guys that have sent in testimonials out of hundreds. And remember, these clips are very, very short because I didn't want to take up this, but all of these testimonials here, in many cases, are pages long, so you can find out about that when you go to our website. But let's start at the top. The quality of my Tinder matches has gone up significantly. Texting was my weak point, and thanks to Tinder Wingman, I started getting more women invested through my improved texting. This means I was going on more dates. My success with women dramatically increased when I started learning from a mentor and the awesome Tinder Wingman community. I was learning exactly what to do and what to fix without sacrificing what makes me, me. Well, here's the thing. I'm very happy to say that these results are not unique. When you go to our website, you'll see plenty more like it in full. And maybe after this webinar, like these guys, you're gonna see the same success too. So next steps. 2 weeks. That's when most users report back that they are seeing changes. 2 months, that's when most users report back that the changes are permanent because it takes 2 months for a habit to form, not 1 month, which is sort of the, what everyone thinks is how long it takes to make a habit. It's 2 months. And with that said, I have a question for you. After 2 weeks, what would Tinder Wingman be worth to you if you were getting the same results as those other guys? What about after 2 months? What if you met the perfect girl who made you unconditionally happy? What if you were living a life with an abundance surrounded by attractive and intelligent women because you took the small step to try Tinder Wingman completely risk-free? What would Tinder Wingman be worth to you then? Well, I can't tell you what Tinder Wingman would be worth, but I can tell you what it costs. So let's go over that. Now, each week, you're gonna be getting a new Tinder breakdown video. Other companies, for just perspective, charge up to $40 a month only for exclusive video content, nothing more, just weekly videos. So we can write down $40 a month in value. You'll also have access to our full Master Online Dating course, Master Approaching course, Webinar Archive, and Q&A archive. You can expect to pay as high as $800 for a similar course. Again, not new content coming in, but just a course. And I think you guys are familiar with the fact that $800 is actually on the low end of what some other companies charge for courses. So that's about $66 a month, which is on a 12-month payment plan. Every month, we do a members-only Q&A. Now, group Skype coaching sessions are easily worth $100 in value, especially if it's a small group where you get individual attention, just like Tinder Wingman. So we'll go ahead and throw $100 on the board a month for group coaching. Now, one-on-one coaching is another beast entirely because there really is nothing like it at all. There's no service like this in any capacity. This similar to an individual Skype call with a dating coach. Now, since you're messaging in 4 times a month, this would be about the equivalent of a 1-hour Skype coaching session. That's worth $200, sometimes more, depending on the coach. So we'll put that down. Now, we also have a lot of bonuses that I'm gonna be throwing in that are probably worth as much as the program itself, but we're just gonna go ahead and leave that blank because I don't wanna overcomplicate this. And I don't want to exaggerate anything. All right, so let's look at our total. So our total is $4,872 a year, which is about $400 a month. Now, here's the thing. You guys already know that I'm not going to charge $400 a month for Tinder Wingman because, frankly, it wouldn't be accessible enough for the guys who actually need it the most. Now, what if you can get the entire package with the mastery courses, archives, Q&A, webinars, everything? The $800 value, completely free and included. What if you can get the group coaching, which is $100 a month in value, completely free and included? And what if you could even get the one-on-one coaching, text coaching, which is $200 value, completely free and included? Yep, that's right. You get the entire Tinder Wingman system for only $39.97 a month. But there is a catch. I just want to be forthcoming and honest with you guys. The catch is that Tinder Wingman will close on the 22nd. If you miss out now, you will not be able to join, and there are no exceptions to this. Every so often, we'll have a guy who will message us and say, hey man, can I join Tinder Wingman now? And the answer is always no. And the reason is that we keep our prices low by maintaining a very small team at Zerby. And by limiting the window that guys can join, we allow ourselves to scale slowly and control our price without being overwhelmed and without losing that one-on-one quality that makes us so legendary. With that said, I did mention that there are some extra bonuses for joining now. Let's go over them real quick. So the first bonus is we're going to be paying 99% of your first week. You're only going to pay $1. With this, you'll be able to try it and see if it's for you. There's absolutely no risk involved. Cancel anytime. Bonus 2, our texting ebook, Text God, is going to be released soon. This is going to be flooded with real examples from text conversations and give you our full strategy for text specifically, not online dating, but texting. Tinder Wingman members will get it at a massive discount, and they'll also get it very early. Bonus 3, and this is the big one. Like I said before, it takes 2 months for something to become a habit. And the second month is where it gets hard because it's not a habit yet. So what we want to do is give you double the text-ins on your second month to give you that edge that you need to make these changes long-lasting. And finally, we have our fourth bonus. We want to reward the guys who are looking to make lasting changes. At $39.97, a year costs $479. But we're going to knock off $80 from a year subscription. So it's just $39.97. Now, the thing is, we actually do not give price discounts on our products because, frankly, our products do not need price discounts. However, we really want to reward the guys who are in this for the long haul. Because there's so much one-on-one personalization, we want members who stick around in the program rather than the guys who slip back into bad habits right away. Now, that said, there is one more bonus, and this is the biggest yet. Bonus number 5. If you join Tinder Wingman before this webinar is over, we'll say thank you by creating a special Tinder breakdown video of your Tinder conversation at the end of your second month, after you've had time to learn the Tinder Wingman system, and when the feedback will be the most important to you. This will be 100% personal to you. Remember, you can get that by joining Tinder Wingman before this webinar is over. So sign up now. Click the link that just appeared in the chat on Webinar Jam. You don't want to miss out on Tinder Wingman. Now, with all that said, there is a live Q&A. But before we get to that, there's only one more thing I want to mention, which is our guarantee, which is we are the best out there. And you know what? We stand by that. So here's the deal. Cancel whenever you want. No bullshit, no sales. And if you hate our advice, let us know, and we'll do our best to make it right. And by the way, guys, if you're watching this, let's say on YouTube, and you don't know where to sign up, just go to bit.ly/join-wingman, and you'll be able to join Tinder Wingman. All right, with that said, let's jump into the live Q&A. Again, if you have a question, you can go to Webinar Jam and go ahead and enter it into chat, and I will see it there. So right off the bat, what makes you guys experts? So Zerby was founded by myself and another guy, and we are both ex-Simple Pickup employees. Simple Pickup is one of the world's largest and most successful dating companies, if not the largest and most successful. Currently, they have 2.7 million subscribers on YouTube, and their digital product, which helps guys with dating, not online dating, by the way, but dating, has over 50,000 registered users. All of the coaches with Zerby Tinder Wingman are rigorously screened, monitors, and regularly reevaluated so they maintain the extremely high level of quality and personalization that we demand from our staff. Next up, is this a pickup product? Well, far from it. Here's the thing. As you guys have seen in this webinar, we believe at Zerby that success comes from two places: reference experience and authenticity. We do not believe that it comes from tricks, lines, seduction, any of that stuff. It really comes down to reference experience and authenticity. Now, the authenticity you already have, but at Zerby, we'll show you how to project it. And the reference experience is probably one of the best features of Tinder Wingman, because when you join, you're going to get the reference experience of all of our expert coaches. You'll get perspectives from all of them, not just one. You'll see all the different ways that our coaches make things happen, as well as in our mastermind group. All right, so what if I hate Zerby? Well, I kind of mentioned this already, but cancel anytime. If you hate the advice, let us know, and we will do whatever it takes to make it right. This is a good one. If I send in a question, I'll just get a one-sentence line back, right? No, not at all. So the way that Zerby works, when you text in with Tinder Wingman, we don't answer questions. We solve issues. That is a very big distinction. So, for example, if you text in and you want help with, let's say, talking with a girl on Tinder, or you're actually on a date with a girl and you don't know what to do next, whatever the issue is, we're not just going to send you one line back and say, okay, well, good luck. We stick with you. We help you work through. We solve whatever issue that you have. It's going to take more than one message the majority of the time. It takes a conversation, and that is what you get with Tinder Wingman. What if I'm not in the US? So yeah, we already mentioned that you can text in. Obviously, if you're somewhere else in the world, we actually have a lot of members in India and in Germany. How do you text in? Well, what we do is you can actually message in with Facebook Messenger. And soon we're going to have WhatsApp and WeChat integrated. So no matter what program you use, you're going to be able to message in to Tinder Wingman and get help with our coaches. Our back end can connect you with the coaches directly. So on your end, it's just like you're messaging in, and our end, it goes to the coach. So really, really great stuff. So why is Tinder Wingman closed for new registration for the majority of the year? Well, like we said, we have a very, very, very small team of coaches. We have 6 employees here. And if we bring on too many new members at once, well, frankly, we're not going to be able to provide the best service that we can. More importantly, getting new coaches is very difficult. So if too many users come in at once, we're not going to be able to get enough coaches in on time, and then the service is going to slip. So the way that we control that is by shutting down registration for, again, the majority of the year. And you think about an entire year, Tinder Wingman is probably open anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. So it's a very small window to get in. All right, what are your hours? So we are open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. So you always have access to us no matter where you are. We've got your back. And finally, what if I need extra help? So this is a good one. A lot of times guys will message in like, oh no, I already texted Tinder Wingman yesterday, but I have an emergency. I need to text in today. What can I do? Well, here's the great thing. When you're in Tinder Wingman, you're going to get to know the coaches. And the coaches are going to get to know you. Now, of course, you're not always going to have the same coach when you message in, but you already know we have a small team, and you're going to get to know all the different coaches. So there's a personal relationship, and we're not going to let you down. If you ever need help, if you're ever in some kind of emergency, if something ever happens where you just, if you send the wrong message now, you're going to lose all the work that you've done with this girl, and you've already texted in, don't worry. We've got your back. Just text in, and we'll take care of you. We're always there for you if you need extra help, even if you already used your once-a-week check-in, whatever. We always at Tinder Wingman go above and beyond. In fact, if you go look at our testimonials, we go as far as to Skype with guys if they need extra help. We do whatever it takes to make sure that you're successful. All right, guys. Well, we are at an hour now, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. But I hope this was really useful. I'll give you a 5-minute grace to go ahead and sign up to get that bonus that I talked about before. But overall, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. You know my email. It's support@zerbiapp.com. You can message me. You can go to our website, which is zerbi.co, or text zerbi.com, and we'll help you out there. So get in contact if you have any questions, and I will talk with you guys soon.